Hello and welcome to the very first episode of On The Watch, where we don't let our fandom get in the way of our honest criticism. I'm Maz, your host, and this is my co-host. He's the Pepper Potts to my Tony Stark. He's the Happy to my Tony Stark. He's the War Machine to my Iron Man. He's the Peggy Carter to my Steve Rogers. Bucky Barnes to my Steve Rogers. And the Falcon to my Captain America. My brother, Pej.
Hey, buddy.
Friend.
Partner.
Today, on our first episode, we're going to talk about the MCU. And after that, we're going to have a discussion about Captain Marvel. When we get to the spoilers, we're going to give you a warning. So, here we go. I don't think we can talk about Captain Marvel without talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all the movies that came before this.
I highly agree with that.
I think it's fair to say that we're going to spoil everything that happened in the MCU so far. So, if you haven't watched any of the movies, go watch the movies, come back, listen to us.
Go watch all of the 20,
if you don't
20
care,
movies.
That's fine too. Pow. It started all the way back in 2008 with Phase 1. We had Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, The First Avenger, Marvel's The Avengers. Looking at this slate of movies, what stands out to you, Pish?
Rough phase, miss. Rough phase.
It is pretty rough.
You know, it took them a while for them to, find their footing.
Okay.
Started off great, Iron Man, it holds up.
It does.
It was a great movie at the time. Minds were blown.
Blown, Pish.
Blown that this worked. It was a different kind of superhero film than we had at the time, wasn't it?
It sure was. I think
It had the fun and cheese. It took itself a little serious. I think by that time, Nolan Batman movies were released. Maybe.
I think the Nolan one was in 2004.
Yeah. So Batman Begins was already released, but it wasn't as serious. But it was set in a sort of a believable world. It wasn't Spider-Man.
It was set in the real world.
Yeah.
That is true. I think Robert Downey Jr. was perfectly cast as Tony Stark and Iron Man. I think he brought a lot of humor and levity to the role.
Yeah. I mean,
I really like that movie. I think it holds up still upon multiple viewings.
Yeah.
It does have a villain problem, which sets the tone for the rest of the movies as well.
It does, doesn't it?
It really does.
The villain problem.
I think the villain was great. He was.
It's a well-casted movie. The problem is not the cast. It's just
the casting was great.
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges was great in the role.
Yeah, sure.
What I did like as well in the movie was the banter between Tony Stark and Pepper Potts.
It is among their better female characters, for sure.
It sure is. And especially in the next movie, it really, really shows how one female character can make or break the movie.
It is a film from a different era.
It's weird, right? They were made in the same year.
Yeah, but Incredible Hulk is just... It is so far behind Iron Man.
It is, and it's insane.
So far, on every level, It has a terrible female character. Bruce. And this blandness carries over to Thor as well, doesn't it? The blandness of the female character.
It does. Jane, oh wow, Natalie Portman.
I like to call this the battle of the blandness.
How does that go, Pej?
Well, they're extremely bland and boring characters, aren't they? And part of it is the writing, part of it is the actress, part of it is the direction. I think everybody just went hand in hand and decided we're going to make this the most boring character possible. And they succeeded. They did, didn't they? Natalie Portman, or as I would like to call her, Blandly Portman.
Wow. How many of them do you got?
I got
Pej?
a couple.
Okay, good.
Just really has a hard time pulling off relationships with any depth, believable relationships. I feel sort of bad for her and bad for saying this as well, because those two characters are just solely there to be the love interest, aren't they?
It's really unfair.
It is unfair, but she is boring. Both of them.
They are.
And thank you for agreeing with me.
They are. I mean,
Seems
It's
like
on-
you were a little out of it at the moment.
I wasn't out of it, and I was just shocked because the words that were exiting your mouth in the way that they were.
Sorry.
You had to do this, huh?
No.
You really had to do this
It's for the Audible podcast listeners.
for the podcast audience.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Hey, throw him a nugget too, I guess.
The golden nuggets.
The gold. That's what he calls his poops.
Wow. Talking about throwing people under the bus. It was between us, Naz. Some things are not
Okay.
meant to be shared. With the
But yeah, I
internet.
really liked Thor actually. I think Chris Hemsworth was great in the role. I think it had a good villain.
Yeah, it's among the better villains in
It is.
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for
And
sure.
just again the casting. We have Anthony Hopkins. We got Chris Hemsworth. We got what's Loki's real name? Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston.
It's great on all aspects. And that movie just worked for me.
Well, I thought it was
Good talk, Bish.
a little boring. And no, the villain. I mean, wasn't the villain also Lava Mouth? Wasn't that a villain?
Was it in the first one?
I think that was in the first one, no?
Who knows anymore? Bish?
Lava Mouth.
Is that's
Official
the
name.
Official. That's what his mom called him.
Official name.
Lava Mouth.
Was that the first one or the second one?
Might
No,
have been the first
that's
one.
the
The
first
second
one.
was
Second one was-
elves.
The Dark Elves.
The elves.
Um,
Malekith. Why do I know that?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's weird
Um,
that you know that.
It is.
I don't think I have to really tell you why I don't like Iron Man 2, or should we discuss that as well?
Mickey Rourke, Sam Rockwell, Whiplash, weird Russian accent. Yeah, we don't need to talk about
Dreads?
Oh, Dreads.
Dreads.
Oh, Dreads.
Iron Man 2
Mickey
is just
Rourke.
very clunky. It's a setup movie.
It is.
It's mostly trying to set up the rest of the cinematic universe, so you had that burden to bear,
Sure.
and it did not give good results, you know?
Especially coming off Iron Man 1.
It was
It's a huge quality deficits.
yeah.
And then we had Captain America. Now, Captain America is my second favorite movie of the slate.
Interesting.
It is, right? I really liked Chris Evans. I really liked what he brought to the role, the humanity that he gave Steve Rogers, the nobility, the feeling of righteousness.
You know what I love about Chris Evans? He's everything I can't ever be. You know, he's good looking
His
on all fronts, just incredible man god.
honestly, what Marvel movies made me realize is if you call your firstborn son Chris, one, he has a very good chance of being extremely buffed and handsome.
Yes.
Second, he might be very, very successful in a Marvel movie someday. You got Chris Hemsworth, you got Chris Evans, you got Chris Pratt. I mean,
We're just missing Chris Pine, aren't we?
we are, but I mean, Chris Pine is in another universe, in another blockbuster movie.
He can come over.
Very successful.
He can come over. I just like to say Chris Evans is everything I strive to be, you know, a Boy Scout. Just somebody noble, full of nobility.
Okay.
Somebody who you look up to,
Okay.
you know? He's a leader, true born leader.
But Pej, us mortals, we are not worthy.
We are not worthy. But he's that person, isn't he? He's the Superman that we deserve.
He is.
He's just not...
He's just the all-round good guy who
Yeah.
actually does what he believes in, and he's not afraid to voice his opinion, even though when it's not the most popular one.
Yeah. I mean, that character really works. They really pulled it off. I think it could have been boring.
It could have easily
Yeah,
been
easily been boring. But it worked. It was great. So I have a soft spot for that movie, for sure. I just wouldn't put it above the Avengers.
And once again, Peggy Carter.
Strong female character. You know what I love about that?
No, I have a feeling you're just about to tell me.
I am just about to tell you. You just... what I love about Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers, their relationship, is that it's not forced.
It's not. It's very organic.
There is not a kiss at the end, the mandatory kiss.
True.
I don't even think they make out.
No, Rogers crash lands in the sea.
And it's tragic love story, isn't it?
It is. They never get to have
Anything.
anything. Not even a moment.
Yeah, they have their interactions. And
it's
that's
very Shakespearean that way.
Yeah, they have their interactions that carries over the love, you know?
It
They
does.
don't have to mandatorily kiss at the end, so you go,
Pesh, they're the cool kids. They don't have to label it.
yeah, exactly. I like Peggy Carter a lot. Peggy Carter and Pepper Potts, definitely the most strong female characters in Phase 1.
Absolutely. And also Captain America, I really like the villain as well. I really like Red Skull.
I love Red Skull. Red Skull doesn't like Red Skull.
Red Skull does not like Red Skull. Like
Yeah.
Hugo Weavings didn't even want to come back for it.
No.
Which is a tragedy
Just
for
an
me.
impersonator, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Sad.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
Poor thing. I like it. I like it. Let's keep it. It was
Let's
just an
keep it.
impersonator. Poor thing.
Poor thing. And then we have Marvel's The Avengers. Now, that's where we started to disagree. You love the movie.
I wouldn't go as
It's
far
your
as
favorite movie of all time.
I'd like to say that at the time I haven't rewatched it at all, but we did see it on release in IMAX.
We did. Well, we went to London for it. So we had to travel all the way to London to watch it in IMAX. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We didn't know if there was ever going to be a second Avenger. And
We were really hyped for that.
we were
movie.
really hyped.
So we went to London. We did some research to find a
Best IMAX. Baby.
at cinema with an IMAX screen. And I remember the Valley there. Is that a Valley? The Ticketmaster?
No, just say at reception.
Yeah, the reception, they really hyped us up, and we were like, this is like the best IMAX screen and everything.
Yeah,
so we were
yeah.
majorly hyped. And I mean, I remember midway through the movie, we finally, admitted to ourselves that this screen is not any bigger than the screens we have back at home.
We have bigger and better screens at home.
Yeah, exactly. But we did try to convince ourselves, wow, look at this screen, for a long time.
I mean, when you travel that far and pay that much to
Yeah.
see one movie,
Yeah,
you might as well, right?
But we were definitely ripped off.
Yeah, we were in denial for the longest time.
But about the movie, we were hyped.
We were
We
hyped.
loved it at the time. Since you've rewatched it, I haven't.
Yeah.
But I thought it did some great things. It had Loki, which it was like a pick and choose of the best villain in the Phase 1.
I did not like Loki in this movie.
I think Loki at that point still worked because he hasn't gone back and forth like
But he's good, Pesh.
100 times, is he?
No, he's not. He's bad again, guys.
No, he's pretty good.
Is he?
No,
No, he's bad.
He's
He's good again.
He's dead.
And now he's dead.
He's
Spoiler
dead.
alert.
Yeah, there we go.
Spoiler
There we
alert.
go.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
My man.
Your man. I am your man.
Okay.
Loki worked at that point still for me. It did have the army, the blind army of aliens.
Well, I've rewatched the movie. What does work for me in that movie is, one, the ensemble.
Yeah, the character interactions.
The character interactions were pretty on point.
Yeah.
And they
it did the unthinkable at the time, didn't it?
Sure did. They each got like a good amount of scrn time.
They had their moments.
They
all of
worked.
them.
The chemistry was there. What didn't work for me was everything around it. I did not.
Really, the movie rebooted Hulk.
Yeah, it's still the ensemble.
That was pretty great.
It's still the ensemble.
Has to be mentioned.
Yeah, true. I really like the Hulk as well.
Yeah.
I liked his interactions, especially with Hulk, and that carried on in a big way.
Who and Hulk?
Hulk and Thor.
Thor. Okay.
Yeah, the punch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really liked how he handled Loki when he was going on a tangent on his monologue and just
Hulk had some great moments. Great moments. It was a great reboot. It's like how Hulk should have been from the get-go.
And do you remember how giddy you got in the cinema when he did the Hulk smash? We jumped up.
It was an awesome moment. And didn't that movie also introduce the Black Widow?
It did. It sure did.
Yeah.
She worked. That movie also introduced Hawkeye.
Who? Oh yeah.
Hawkeye.
What's his name?
Jeremy
Renner. Yeah.
Fresh out of Hurt Locker, by the way.
I for a moment there, I had a brain fart. I was thinking about a Falcon for some reason. Hawk.
Yeah.
Falcon.
It introduced a bunch of new characters, of course. But yeah, the villain didn't work for me. There's so many times I can handle a blue beam in the sky and faceless monsters.
Yeah, I give you that. For sure.
But yeah,
But was it overdone at the time? The blue beam?
I feel like it was. Yeah, just that movie, I thought it was okay. I don't think it's as great as everybody else make it out to be.
It's an ensemble movie. There's almost only so much you can do. I think you have to give it credit for the things it did right, and that is which you did.
I did.
You did it. Yeah. Wasn't that the introduction of Thanos as well?
It was the post-credit
scene, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I gotta say that movie should get some credit for the action.
The action was good.
The action was really good.
The whole 360 iconic shot was amazing.
Iconic. It was pretty great. We were really hyped.
We were really hyped.
So it's a great action ensemble movie. Does it have a great story? No, but
well, that's why I feel like Captain America is a better movie here.
I'll give you that. I mean, sure.
Okay. Then we go to Phase 2. In Phase 2 we have Iron Man 3.
Great start.
Thor, The Dark World, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man. Now, I feel like in this phase, Marvel Studio, especially towards the end, really started to find their footing. Started to hone what they wanted to do with this Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, it didn't start out great. We have Iron Man 3 and Thor The Dark World. They're stinkers. But Captain America Winter Soldier, that's my personal favorite out of all the Marvel movies. You got the fan favorites like Guardians of the Galaxy. Avengers Age of Ultron. I like them. I like this movie better than the last one.
God.
I know.
Darn it, man.
I know. Hey. A man likes what a man likes. And Ant-Man. What I really started appreciating in the last bit, in the last half, is there were no longer just superhero movies. They had subgenres in it. So you got Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and it was...
spy movie.
It was a spy movie. It was a political thriller. You had Guardians of the Galaxy, which was a space opera and a comedy.
Yeah.
You had Ant-Man, which was an all-out comedy.
Yeah.
I really liked what they started doing with that. Now, do you have anything to add to this?
Thanks for asking my opinion, Maz. Iron Man 3.
Now, I remember we were so hyped for this movie because Shane Black was writing and directing.
Yes.
And we are both huge Shane Black fans.
Yes. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, y'all.
It's amongst my favorite movies.
It is one of my favorite movies as well. My introduction to Robert Downey.
Yeah. And also the re-emergence of Val Kilmer. Because he wasn't in movies for a long time.
He was great in that movie.
He was great. Gay Perry. Yeah. Robert Downey Jr. in that movie was great as well. Like that's the quick dialogue, the quick back and forth, the banter. Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Iron Man 3...
I mean, the problem with that movie is... At the time, I was really disappointed in the Mandarin. In hindsight, I like the Mandarin just fine.
I like the Mandarin.
I've actually really liked the fast one he pulled on us.
It was a good twist.
Yeah, it was a good twist. I really like what Ben Kingsley brought to the role. That movie was all over the place, wasn't it? It was trying to be dark.
It was trying to be so many things
towards a very young audience at the same time.
Yeah, like Tony was going through a depression.
Yeah,
and I wish they delved into that more deeply and more intensely. But yeah, I guess you cannot do that in a kids movie. And also the humor, in contrast to that depression, was just jarring.
And wasn't the Extremist just not that great, wasn't it?
It was terrible, one would say.
Yeah.
Which is a damn shame. They got Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce
was great.
I like Guy Pearce.
And they kind of ruined Pepper Potts in that movie as well.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Which is just a shame. For everything for all the goodwill they built up in Iron Man 1, they really broke it down in Iron Man 2 and 3.
I don't like Iron Man 3 all that much.
No.
To be honest with you. Thor The Dark Worlds, I mean...
It's a hot mess.
It is a hot mess. It just basically... I don't remember anything. Thor's blonde eyebrows,
The golden nuggets.
the golden nuggets.
It was about elves and a red blob that took over Jane's body at some point.
Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It was my favorite movie until that point.
Okay.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was really good. It was the first movie where it sort of tried to take a genre. It was a spy movie and not just a superhero movie, whatever that means.
Yes.
It took a darker tone as well, didn't it?
It was really dark.
Yeah.
It was really dark. Like what Steve Rogers was going through in that movie.
Yeah.
Especially regarding to his views about the Shield and his views about surveillance.
Yeah. That was
Winter Soldier. And also the struggle he had with Peggy Carter. Like he just woke up after.
It's a good movie.
Decades.
Winter Soldier is just among the best, isn't it?
It works on every level.
It is among the best.
And also another strong female character, Black Widow.
Black Widow was pretty good in that movie. She was. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, Pej. Yes.
I don't like that movie.
Oh, let me get ready for this.
I don't like that movie. I think it's geared towards a way younger audience than I would have liked it.
I highly disagree.
And look, it's set up a universe. The world building is great.
The world building is great.
James Gunn really did great on the casting as well.
They did.
He did a great job on the movie. I'm glad it exists. Because of it existing, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is a way better movie.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, Avengers Age of Ultron guy says that. I think the humor didn't really click. I saw potential, what it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad it exists. It was bonkers.
Let me defend this movie for a minute. You got Guardians of the Galaxy, who basically are unknown to the general audience. And they're weird as all hell, Pej. You got a machine gun shooting raccoon in rockets. You got a tree that talks and can say only 3 words. I am Groot. You got an alien who is cast by an ex-wrestler in Dave Bautista and Drax. And then you got a chubby, lovable guy from Parks and Rec in Chris Pratt. It's an ensemble movie. It works. The chemistry works. The humor works. There's not a day that goes by that I don't use the Drax joke. Nothing goes over my head. I'm too quick. I will catch it. Is the villain great? No. But the movie, the ensemble, the story, the ride is just so much fun that I can forgive so much of it.
That movie ended in a dance battle, man.
And that was great.
Was it?
First of all, you have Lee Pace, who's chewing scenery, just chewing it.
Lee Pace is having fun. I like Lee Pace.
Ronan was not the greatest villain, but it was so much fun to watch Lee Pace doing what he did on screen. And yeah, it did end in a dance battle. And then they held hands and...
That's what I mean. The movie is made for...
Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier.
All right, we're gonna get hit by copyright strikes all over the place. No, I think the movie is geared towards a way younger audience than the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and you see that in Guardians 2. It kind of tones it up, doesn't it?
It does tone the humor up. I don't think Guardians 2 as a cohesive piece works as well as Guardians 1 does.
Yeah.
But I do think Guardians 2 has the better humor out of it too.
Thank you. Agree to disagree.
Son over here, Mr. President.
Age of Ultron is the 3rd worst movie out of all of these movies. It is just terrible, man.
Out of Phase 2 or just
all of them? It goes like this: Thor: The Dark World, Incredible Hulk, and Age of Ultron.
You think Age of Ultron is worse than Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3?
Yes.
Why do you look like a deer in headlights? Did I catch you off guard?
No, for a moment there I forgot about Iron Man 2.
Okay.
But I still think Age of Ultron is worse than Iron Man 2.
Disagree, sir.
It Agree to disagree then.
Now, I liked Age of Ultron better than the first one.
Oh my god.
I know. We're gonna disagree there, and that's fine. What didn't you like about that movie, Pej?
It is just god awful. It has that bad X-Men quality to it. You know, those bad X-Men movies? You know, the third one and also a third one. You know?
Yeah.
Each third movie, it just is pretty bad.
Okay.
You know, it's boring, it's overlong. It has the terrible plot. The villain has terrible ideas. And it just it didn't work for me on any fronts. It introduces some terrible new characters.
I like the Vision.
The Vision is fine, but you have Speed Racer over there. Quicksilver. Yeah. And Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Why did you point at it?
Because my mind was like, Quicksilver, yes. That one. But
you decided to point at me when you said Scarlet Witch.
It just my body motion went a little bit later.
That's what happens when your brain doesn't communicate with the rest of your body.
Yeah, I guess that movie is just
okay. Let me ask you a couple of questions. How is the plot of this movie and the villain of this movie any worse than the other one?
What other one?
The first Avengers.
Loki was fun.
Was he?
Yeah, he was deliciously evil. There was no fun to be had. Fun was excluded out of Age of Ultron.
I mean, I think
it was a studio mandate to not have any fun on that movie.
I think their interactions were really fun.
Was it? There was one scene in the bar that I can remember. Other than that,
there was one scene in the bar that was really fun. In the club, if one might have to add.
In the discoteca.
No, there was one scene in the bar that was really fun. And I think when they made Vision, even though the reasons for making Visions was buck wild, I think when Vision came to life and held Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, I think they established one thing so fast. I don't think they could have done it in any other way or any better ways.
It's established something that they never followed up on, which is Vision is very, very powerful.
But very righteous.
But let's nerf him so he doesn't become too powerful.
Well, it is the Superman problem, isn't it?
Well, then don't make him pick up whatever that hammer is called.
What? Don't get angry, bitch.
I'm just saying that movie. No, man. It's not fun. It's not fun.
Well, to me, I like this movie better than the last one.
Okay.
I feel like it's a better movie.
Agree to disagree.
And then we have Ant-Man.
The thing is, I don't hate Guardians of the Galaxy. I hate Age of Ultron with a passion.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I can see that you feel very strongly about this.
I am extremely on edge that you like that movie.
We don't have to always agree, Paige.
No,
that's fine.
I guess.
We don't have to go into a fisticuff or two. See?
Ant-Man, I really like Ant-Man. Paul Rudd is my man.
Paul Rudd. What a troubled production, though.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, isn't it? I really wanted Edward Wright.
Yeah, I really would love to see what Edgar Wright had. Going for
Edward.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I wish I could see his full vision instead of part of his vision. Mm-hmm. I think Edgar Wright basically made Ant-Man and got fired because they had different creative visions. And the guy who had to replace him kind of followed up on it. I think there's a lot of his sensibilities still left in the movie.
Most definitely, you know.
The humor is there.
The humor is just...
Even though Paul Rudd was great,
yeah,
Michael Pena ends up stealing the movie for me.
Those moments were fun.
Like,
see, that's what I'm talking about. This movie is allowed to have some fun, you know? And it's great.
True,
it's great
also,
because of it, because it doesn't have a good story. It doesn't have a good villain.
It doesn't. And I agree with you that this movie is way more fun than Avengers Age of Ultron, but also this movie has a lot less on its shoulders.
Yeah, I guess.
It has to do a lot more world building for Ant-Man, but it has a main focus.
You know, Ant-Man is a movie that I was not excited about.
Honestly, with that troubled production, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. Glad it turned out fun.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah. Now let's get into Phase 3.
Then we have Phase 3. In Phase 3 is where Marvel really started hitting it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then we have Captain Marvel and Endgame. Now, out of all these movies so far, what stands out to you, Pish?
So far, it's a quite a strong phase.
It is the strongest so far.
Yeah. It's the longest, but they've been hitting them out of the park mostly. Seeing the list over here, Civil War, I really liked.
It's an amazing movie.
I will always adore that movie because of the introduction of Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. You've been a Spider-Man fan from way, way back.
You know, yeah. That is true. And that's the first portrayal of him that I've been on board. Like, this is what I wanted out of Spider-Man. He's fun. He's witty. He's humble.
He is a teenager.
Yeah. And that introduction of Spider-Man, that whole section of Spider-Man, really blew my mind because I stay spoiler free.
That is true.
I barely watch any trailers.
And it's really a movie within a movie.
Yeah, it is a short.
They just take a break from the Captain America part and introduce Spider-Man.
Yeah, it is. And that movie, I will always love it because of that.
Okay.
It's a strong movie too, I think.
It is a really strong
I still think Winter Soldier might be a better Captain America movie. Civil War is an Avengers movie, isn't it?
Civil War is the best Avengers movie we've had so
far. Yeah. It is sort of an Avengers movie because it's got a big cast. It's got almost the whole ensemble and some new characters.
True.
Doctor Strange didn't work for me. And action, amazing.
Action was great.
World building, great.
Mm-hmm.
The origin story didn't really work for me.
They took the same route as the Iron Man movie.
Well, that's what my problem is. He's Tony Stark 2.0.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. Also, again, female problem. I think that romance didn't work for me either.
That is true. No, I can't fault you for that. But I think the origin story, like the way he learned the mystic arts, those are great.
Those sequences were all great.
I really liked Mads Mikkelsen in the villain role.
Me too.
I really like that at the end there really wasn't a battle or a big fight.
He won with his wit.
Mm-hmm. And that's the first for Marvel.
That is the first.
Because
it was a clever sequence.
It was a very clever sequence.
Yeah.
What I do think is a pity is that they didn't use the same action bits and strengths of Doctor Strange in the Avengers movie. I think he had the same problem Vision had. He was knocked out for half of a movie. And I think if he was in the movie...
Are you talking about Infinity War?
Yes.
We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Okay. But yeah, I really like this movie.
I don't hate it. Mm-hmm. It's just not great to me.
Okay, fair.
But the action, really, I loved it. I love the road it took.
Let's get to a movie you do really, really love.
I love Guardians too.
You love Guardians
I loved it. It was so much fun. It is what I wanted the first one to be. You know? On every front, basically.
Okay.
The humor was on point. It was a little bit geared toward a older audience.
Okay.
It still had some child-friendly jokes, you know, but it was a little bit more mature.
It was a little bit more mature. Now, going in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, I went in with no expectations. Mm-hmm. And I ended up loving it.
Yeah.
Knowing that, going in the second movie, going in volume 2, I already had built-up expectations. And I think they didn't meet my expectations there. I knew Kurt Russell was going to be in it. I love Kurt Russell. And I was expecting, like, especially coming from the first movie, I was expecting for Peter Quill's daddy issues to take center stage.
But it did.
Not in a way...
Not how you wanted it?
Not how I wanted it, but I don't think... It has the same problem as Iron Man 3 for me. They didn't go deep enough. The forgiveness came very early, which I think was not warranted. I don't think Kurt Russell necessarily deserved that forgiveness. I know Peter Quill was longing for a father. I know he wanted to have a bond with his father, but still, I don't think Peter Quill is the kind of guy who lets go that easily. And I have examples to prove it in Infinity War.
Sure. I guess those points just didn't bother me. You know, I thought the humor really worked, and that's a big plus for me. If the humor works,
in a comedy, of course,
in a comedy,
the biggest.
exactly. It's the same reason why Ant-Man and the Wasp worked for me. The story wasn't particularly great.
Now, I must say, Guardians Volume 2 had the biggest like laugh out loud moment out of all
many
the
of
MCU
them.
movies for me.
Many laugh out loud.
No,
moments.
for me.
Okay. Are you just gonna keep doing jokes, repeating jokes of the movies?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And that's Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
It was.
I think Guardians 2, a lot of characters come into their own.
I think it's much more of a Michael Rooker movie than it is a Peter Quill movie.
Michael Rooker's character is so fleshed out in that movie.
It's great.
He's a great character. He was just a binary villain in the first one, and he became this amazing father figure, basically.
He did.
Drax really came into his own.
He did.
I feel like his jokes worked way better. The daddy issue stuff really worked for me. I mean, any scene between Kurt Russell and Chris Pratt really worked for me. I guess we just have to disagree there. It's our opinions, but I know I'm in the minority though.
Okay.
I know that's a fact.
But there
Guardians,
are dozens of you. Paige.
There are dozens of us.
At least
There are dozens of us. But I know Guardians 2 is generally panned and seen as the worst out of the two.
Okay.
Basically.
I don't think I can add anything here, so I'm just gonna let you rip. Spider-Man: Homecoming. What did you think, Pesh?
It's my jam.
It is your jam.
It's my jam.
Oddly enough, it's my jam too, Pesh.
Word. That movie is great, isn't it?
It is.
Can I admit something? I was let down at the start of the movie and amazed by the end of it.
Okay.
Let down because I expected, and this is because the movies that came before, the Spider-Man movies that came before it.
Okay.
My expectations was it's gonna be a big movie.
It
It was a very small, intimate movie.
It was a small intimate. So you expected it to have like bigger worldly stakes?
Yeah, but by the end of the movie, I liked the movie because it's a small movie. I think that was the right choice, and my expectations were absolutely wrong.
Okay.
This is what makes the movie work, because Spider-Man is a small-time hero. At least starts off as one. Is your friendly neighborhood is Spider-Man, you know? And the casting.
My casting was amazing. I think it was very smart of them to pair up Spider-Man with Tony Stark.
Absolutely.
The chemistry between Peter Parker and Tony Stark is just on point.
It's golden.
To me,
the surrogate dad thing really works.
I'm glad they didn't go the Uncle Ben route.
Yeah,
because you can only knock on that door that many times.
I was so happy.
Yeah.
We can't not talk about Michael Keaton.
Yeah. Though. To me, this movie had the best villain of all of the Marvel movies so far.
I don't know if he's the best villain, because I think it's a little ham-fisted. But he has absolutely the most villainous scene out of all of the villains.
Most threatening scene.
Most threatening scene that the stakes are real.
Why Michael Keaton's character, the Vulture, worked for me so well was, first, it was really grounded.
It was grounded. He's a very relatable character.
To me, Michael Keaton is just one of the most likable and relatable dudes in general.
Mm-hmm.
But especially in this movie, his arc, the way he became the Vulture, it spoke to me in a very, very sincere and deep way.
Yeah.
I've been out of work. I know the struggles, especially like I had my first kid. I had to provide. I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
Now, put yourself in that world. When you are scared and you have to provide for your family, you do desperate things.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a blue-collar worker, and it's very relatable to many people. But I think they played fast and loose with the plot. You know, I think the general plot isn't bad. It's just the portrayal of it was a little cheesy.
Okay.
Didn't bother me But I did think the whole his gang didn't really work for me.
Okay, I can see that.
And their way of communicating their point, the writing basically didn't really work for me.
So your
The
issues
general
are
idea
more on the script level.
On the script level,
Okay.
Yeah. In general, a great movie. I think Tom Holland takes the role and runs with it.
Absolutely.
And there's some great humor in that movie.
There is.
Everything with the suit and
Yeah, the suit not really understanding what Tom Holland, like what Peter Parker wants out of it.
Exactly. And him discussing his relationship with the suit.
Yeah, that was funny. That was really funny.
His longing for that relationship. That was some funny stuff. It's a great movie. It's a great small. That's what I always wanted Spider-Man to be.
Okay.
So it's what I really wanted Mark Webb's Spider-Man movies to be. Small and intimate and sort of an indie feel.
Yeah.
And this had it.
And also we have to talk about the realization moments when Peter Parker realized who his love interest's father was.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking about a while ago about the most villainous scene.
Yeah.
That car ride is the most villainous scene in most of these Marvel movies. The stakes are really high and they feel real.
It's so uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable. That scene,
like father-in-laws are just generally scary, but this takes the cake.
And that scene literally made me go, oh, ish. You know?
Poop.
Yeah, exactly.
Right after that, it's another banger, Thor Ragnarok. By far the best soundtrack of all the Marvel's movies.
Is it?
By far the best soundtrack out of all the Marvel movies so far.
Okay.
It's very 80s, it's very synthy. And they reintroduced Thor in a big way.
It is a soft reboot, isn't it?
It is. Well, I wouldn't call it soft either.
I'm glad it happens. Thor needed some umph.
He needed an umph. He needed some more funk. He needed just something. He needed to get away from Asgard as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That whole storyline and everything works in that movie for me. It's such a funny, great...
Who knew?
Who knew?
Chris Hemsworth is a comedy genius.
Man, teaming up Thor with the Hulk.
Well, they started it out in the first Avengers. They had this frenemy relationship. And
they really took it up a notch.
In a big way.
Yeah. Great female characters. The villain, Kate Blanchett, is great to me.
I like her. She is chewing the scenery up.
She's chewing on it.
I mean, Kate Blanchett was born, and as soon as she got her baby teeth, she was just made to chew scenery.
Yeah, exactly. But she's having so much fun in this.
She's having the most fun, I would agree.
Absolutely.
I would argue.
I'd say the other female character as well, Tessa Thompson, Valkyrie.
Yeah, but I think like Kate Blanchett is everybody in the movie realized what kind of movie they were in.
Yeah.
But Kate Blanchett is having the most fun with it.
Okay.
She's raising eyebrows and just chewing it up.
She's great.
Spitting out, re-chewing it.
I loved her in that role.
Jeff Goldblum is optimum Goldblum in this movie.
He is great. He's also having a lot of fun.
He's having a lot of fun.
Everybody's having fun. Yeah. It's such a good movie.
It is a good movie.
What's the director's name? I forgot his name.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, he really took James Gunn's sensibility.
Yeah. It is very James Gunn.
It is very James Gunn, Guardian of the Galaxy-ish. But he did make it his own.
He did. And also his role in the movie is just laugh out loud.
It's very witty. It's a very witty movie.
What I loved the most in it is how much they had to improvise. Jeff Goldblum was really playing Jeff Goldblum.
But like hammed up.
But hammed up to the maximum. He was the villain, but you couldn't really hate him.
No, he was great. He was great.
I was kind of rooting for him. A villain who is also a DJ.
He's just awesome. That movie is just so much fun. The only thing that didn't work for me, low-key.
Yeah, like this is where the seams start in the show.
It's just too much Loki.
This is where the weaknesses of the character start in the show. And Loki in its essence is not a bad character. It's just he's been going back and forth
so many times.
So long and so many times. It's just not surprising anymore. No. And when it's not surprising, it just doesn't work. And you cannot invest
in the same movie.
He
changes his mind like 20 times.
You cannot invest in it emotionally anymore. To me, Black Panther was the biggest upset.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Mm-hmm.
We watched Black Panther pretty late.
We did.
So there was a lot of hype around it being the best Marvel movie so far. And also, it had so much going for it, which is really unfair for a movie to have to carry that much cultural relevance and that much movement on its back.
Yeah.
I think it's a great movie, especially upon multiple rewatches. It's a great movie. Everything in the movie works. But when a movie has to tackle the issues around racism, slavery, a relationship between African Americans and Africans, especially when it's the first of its kind,
it's dealing with a lot of heavy themes.
It's dealing with a lot of heavy themes.
Yeah.
I think it carries it out gracefully and beautifully and with a lot of passion and heart. I just think because the hype was so big, I was expecting so much that no movie ever could possibly deliver.
I've been very unfair to Black Panther. It's the movie that I've given the most thought about.
It stays with you
through all the movies, probably. And that's because also my expectations were major high.
Sky high.
And I expected a lot from that movie. And I came out of it feeling a bit disappointed. But in hindsight, I've making a pros and cons list in my head. I'm like, this movie is good. I don't know why I was so harsh on it. And I haven't rewatched it since.
You should. You really should.
It's really grown on me.
Well, upon rewatching the movie, I really liked Michael B. Jordan's performance as Killmonger.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the movie.
He's a great villain.
But upon a rewatch, you realize the subtleties and the added things, especially the smaller ones.
Yeah.
It's not only his struggle with family and his father, his struggle with his race, the place of his race in the world, in America, the social injustice. And there are a lot of things that are really on the nose, but the subtleties of that really show through.
That was my problem when I watched the movie the first time. I felt a lot of these themes were surface level, the way they got explored.
Okay.
There wasn't much depth.
Okay.
There, and these are heavy themes, and they need depth. You need to explore them in depth.
Yeah.
And I felt like the movie didn't do that when I watched it at first. Pondering on it later on, I do think they did their best, and they did deliver a graceful movie. And for a movie that had to do so much, and also tell a Marvel superhero story, I really think they did the best possible combination of themes and how deep they would go in any of them. They scattered above some of them that I would like to be a little bit more explored.
Okay.
But in general, it's a graceful movie. I couldn't said it better. It's fun. Casting is amazing. First of all, I really liked T'Challa as a hero. I really liked Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger.
Killmonger, yes.
I like what's her name? His sister,
Shiri.
Shiri, great casting on that too. And I also love the general. She's in Walking Dead.
Okay.
She's amazing.
I love
she pulls off action like crazy.
I just love the female generals in general.
Yeah, I didn't like
Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah.
Why?
That romance didn't work for me.
Okay, now let's talk about the romance. Not every movie needs to have a romance.
Exactly.
And I get where you're coming from. Now, that romance did work for me because it was sweet. It was very innocent to me.
It was very innocent.
And
that's
just
not
from
my
the
problem.
beginning, they built it up. The whole "I never freeze" and then he froze. It sparked up a lot of, first relationship vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was sweet and innocent. I really loved it. But I do agree with you that not every movie needs a love interest. I love the culture of Wakanda.
Yeah.
I love the world building. I loved every character in it. I love the different tribes.
Mm-hmm.
I wish the movie was longer. I wish they had more time for this movie.
Yeah.
And I wish this movie didn't have to be the first movie made by African Americans, starred by African Americans. I wish we didn't have to start here. I'm glad this movie exists. I just feel like it should have come so much sooner.
Yeah, you can say that with anything. I'm just saying better now than later.
That is true.
And I think it is quite the champion in carrying that torch.
It had a Herculean task.
Yeah, it did have
pulled it
a
off.
very tough task. But props to Marvel, you know?
Props to Marvel. Props to
because-
all of the actors. Props to Ryan Coogler, who did a great job.
Absolutely.
The only bad thing I can say about the movie was the CGI.
The CGI was terrible.
Especially in the fight scenes
Oh,
where
the
it
worst.
really showed.
The worst.
But that's just about it as well.
Another thing I want to say is I'm all for diversity.
Okay.
You know, being a person of color myself. But there was a period in time, and it was around the period that Black Panther came out, that diversity seemed to be done for diversity's sake. And it was at times forced. But you know what I mean?
So you feel like diversity was more important than the quality of
The movie.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like at times I feared that Black Panther might be one of those movies.
Then it might have fallen victim to it. Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was a
Absolutely.
champion throughout all of those movies that tried to bring diversity forth, and it was definitely. It had a rough task, but it pulled it off. It's just the timing that it came out. So I understand what you mean. You wanted it to happen sooner. It was awkward time in any culture and in movies especially. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but especially given the political climate, I'm glad this movie exists.
Absolutely,
I'm just so
absolutely.
glad. I cannot emphasize this enough. I'm so glad this movie exists.
Absolutely.
The only two bad things I can say about this movie though, CGI.
Yeah. The worst.
I wish they had more time to.
Terrible. It's just bad.
Yeah, and also Claw. He was in a different movie. Andy Serkis was just in a different movie.
His portrayal was way different, wasn't it, than the first time he appeared?
Well, he first appeared in Age of Ultron, and he was hammy, but it worked in that movie because James Spader was hamming it up as Ultron.
Yeah.
But
It was a little over the top.
in Black Panther, where it was really serious and the subject matter was so serious,
Yeah.
I feel like Andy Serkis didn't understand the heft of the movie. He didn't understand.
I wouldn't say that per se. I would say
Well, his portrayal doesn't show it to me.
he's trying to bring some levity to the role, and that's the writing also. You know, I mean, he's only doing so much with the writing he's given.
I guess, but yeah, Claw didn't work for me in this
I
movie.
understand.
I think Claw was merely but a means to get to another place. And now we have to get to Avengers: Infinity War. Now, this is a movie that shouldn't work at all. Too many characters, entirely too many characters. They're all well established.
Yeah.
Then we have a villain that's been there from the first Avenger.
Yeah.
That's been building up but never showing up. So the threat was there. Now, one, I didn't understand how they're gonna give everybody at least some screen time. I didn't know if within that they still had time to introduce Thanos, introduce his motivations, and still have time for action.
Thanos is among the best villains they've had, and it was a great choice to make it a villain-centric movie.
Yes,
It was a great
couldn't
choice.
agree more.
And I gotta say, man, the Russos are a champion of the Marvel universe, aren't they?
They are.
They are setting quite the tone of the whole universe. The especially the human side.
Yes.
You know, so you got James Gunn and Taika Waititi setting up the tone of the intergalactic side of the universe of Marvel Cinematic Universe, and you got the Russos setting a tone on what's happening on Earth.
Okay.
And they are really, really making movies that are just not supposed to work.
Now, when the Russo brothers entered the MCU,
Which one was their first movie? Winter Soldier?
It's the Winter Soldier. Yeah. When the Russo brothers entered the MCU with Winter Soldier, that's when the MCU started to really take shape.
It was starting to gel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where they knew exactly what they wanted to do, where they wanted to go. That's where they found their arc.
Yeah.
And nothing shows it more than Avengers Endgame. Like, that's the first time the Earthlings are getting to know the intergalactic part of the universe.
Yeah.
That's their first connection with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Absolutely, things are coming together.
Thor's comeback, because he was out of Earth. He was not on Earth for the longest time.
Yeah.
He wasn't in Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And everything worked so well. What I loved about this movie is they didn't need no introduction anymore.
Yeah.
They just jumped right into it with Thor's spaceship takeover.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they did it. I don't know why it worked so well. It just did. All the motivations made sense.
It's a long movie too.
It's a long movie, but I think that's one of the very few movies that I feel it could have been longer.
Could have been longer, yeah.
Upon a rewatch and upon multiple viewings, some things stand out to you a bit more. Like when I watched it the first time around at the movies, the relationship between Gamora and Thanos worked better for me than it did in my rewatch of the movie.
Yeah, that relationship could have used some more scenes.
Yeah. And also, at the movies, I understood Peter Quill's motivation and his anger and frustration when he did the oopsie to Thanos.
Look, I think a lot of these movies are not that
perfect.
rewatchable.
Okay.
Because it's the first wow effect, you know? It's that counts for a lot. If you know the interactions already and there's not that much of a plot going on, things start to fall apart. You notice the holes a little bit more, and Avengers Infinity War is not that rewatchable. I've tried to rewatch it once, and maybe it's just too soon after I've seen it.
Maybe.
But it was. I remember my first reaction. I was quite blown away.
Now, I still think it's the second best Avengers movie after Civil War. But yeah, upon multiple viewings, the seams start to show. Still a great movie, but I think that's one of the very few movies that could have used more time and more, just maybe 15 minutes more.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit more fleshing out of the father-daughter relationship between Gamora and Thanos. You mentioned something about them nerfing Doctor Strange.
Yes.
I don't think that's true. He went toe-to-toe with Thanos, which none of the Avengers could.
For the longest time in the movie, he was basically kidnapped on a Thanos spaceship, knocked unconscious. And Tony Stark and Spider-Man, Iron Man and Peter Parker had to go and save him. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean. He wasn't nerfed. He was fighting another way more capable wizard. Okay. Well, but they found a way to get rid of Doctor Strange in the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as nerfing him per se. Nerfing is more what happened with Vision, that he shows his powers and then later on he just seemingly doesn't do anything and doesn't have those powers anymore.
Well, how is that any different? They
introduced somebody stronger.
Yeah, but they introduced somebody stronger than Vision too.
But everybody's stronger than Vision.
Yes, because they took him out in the beginning.
He needs to be saved all the time.
Well, that's the thing. Like they had the two strongest characters.
They established, this is a conversation I'm probably gonna cut out, but they established that Vision can pick up the hammer of Thor, so his power is, let's say, equivalent. You know what I mean?
Okay.
To Thor, yet he couldn't even fight the children of Thanos.
True, I give you that. But they also introduced...
And Thor is the one that defeats Thanos.
Okay, but they also introduced Doctor Strange being able to set a timer to just go back in time every time he dies and do the same thing over and over again.
But he did that
wins.
though. He did that in Avengers Infinity War. He went through many timelines. I heard it's like millions of years.
Okay.
And timelines and checking out every one of them. That moment that he does his whole meditation thing.
Okay.
He did that. We just didn't see the other side.
So you think it's just gonna all pay off in Endgame?
It's gonna pay off. Absolutely.
Okay. We'll see.
So after Infinity War, we got Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I'm glad that movie happened, and it's as small as it is, and as funny as it is.
Okay.
The story is not particularly good one. The villain is not that great, but I was laughing throughout the whole movie, and I had so much fun. And after Infinity War, that was a breath of fresh air, because Infinity War was grim.
Now, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think the champ has to be Evangeline Lilly.
She did great.
Their chemistry, again.
Always been a true believer.
You have been. Their chemistry was amazing on screen.
Mm-hmm.
I love Michael Douglas in it.
Absolutely.
I wish there was more on Michelle Pfeiffer in the movie.
Yeah.
But again, the villain.
Ghost doesn't really work.
Ghost does not work.
Her motivations are there, but it just, I don't know.
It was weakly executed.
Yeah.
I loved Walton Goggins in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just love him in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good movie. I was really intrigued when it ended what post-credit scene that we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they used the Thanos snap as an bookend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really intrigued how Ant-Man is gonna come back.
Yeah, I mean,
How does one get out of the quantum realm, Pesh?
that is interesting. I mean, I do wonder how that story is gonna come along.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna put you on the spot here, Pesh.
Yeah.
If you had to make a top 5 out of all the MCU movies, how would it look like? No.
Before or after Captain Marvel?
Before. Let's go before
Okay.
Captain Marvel. Now, I'm gonna start first to give you some time to think.
I'll go through the list while you're talking.
Okay. So for me, it has to be Captain America: Winter Soldier. I don't think that's a surprise. I've already mentioned that. Then this might come as a surprise to you: Spider-Man: Homecoming. That movie worked
On so many levels.
for me. Then Captain America: Civil War, Black Panther, and Avengers: Infinity War. What's really interesting to me here is out of all these movies, all but one were part of Phase 3.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's just Captain America, Winter Soldier that was in Phase 2.
Yeah.
But all of the other ones were in Phase 3. And also, they all have really strong villains. Now, here's my theory. In Phase 3, where all the heroes are already well established, they just got more time to spend more time and energy on the villains. Yeah. They can flesh them out instead of focusing on the heroes again. So that's why I think Phase 3 works so well, because they don't have to really build any more groundwork for the heroes anymore.
Could be. Looking at this list, first of all, I like your list.
Okay.
It's a good selection. I'm having a tough time picking 5 and putting them in order, so I'm just not gonna put them in order.
Sure. Do you what's your number 1 spot though?
That's a toughie, or a tough one. I don't know. I don't have a number 1. I can't do it.
Okay, just go through your list.
Okay, my list would be Iron Man.
Oh yeah, that's not on my list.
That is not on your list, and I feel like it deserves so much credit.
It does. Can we do honorable mentions?
No. Iron Man is on my list.
Okay.
And it's not in yours. I gotta give it to Winter Soldier. That's also on my list.
Okay. I'm glad it is.
Civil War. I'm already on 3.
Okay.
Gosh darn it. Because of the... Oh no.
What happens?
Oh no, this is hard. Can we have honorable mentions?
No.
Dang it. Civil War because of the Spider-Man moment.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna pick Homecoming because I feel like Spider-Man, Civil War is hitting
all the same bits.
Yeah, he's hitting the same notes. He's got the Spider-Man. There we go, fixed.
Look how happy he is.
Black Panther.
Okay.
And I gotta go with Infinity War.
Okay. So we both got Captain America: Winter Soldier, Civil War, Black Panther, and Infinity War.
I got 3 movies in Phase 3.
So basically, what the only difference between our lists is I have Spider-Man: Homecoming and you have Iron Man instead of.
Yeah.
How do you feel about not having Spider-Man in your top 5 whilst I do? As a Spider-Man fan page, how does it make you feel?
I did Spider-Man justice by putting Civil War there.
I put both of those movies in there.
It's a hard thing making a list. Honorable mentions Spider-Man: Homecoming.
No honorable mentions page. And, out of all these characters, who's your favorite?
My favorite character is absolutely Spider-Man.
Okay.
It's a tough one because...
Is it because you didn't put Homecoming in your list?
It's a tough one.
Okay.
At first glance, the first thing that pops in my mind when you ask a question like that is Steve Rogers.
Yes.
He's kind of perfect throughout all of the movies.
Okay.
His portrayal is great. His writing is mostly good. He's just an honorable character, and I always do gear towards the Boy Scouts. I like that kind of character. But me being me, Spider-Man is just...
That's your guy.
That's my guy.
Yeah.
I cannot not pick Spider-Man. I think
that is
Tom Holland does a great job.
No.
He's got some of that honorable sensibilities.
He does.
He's just excited to be there, and that's what I love about him.
Mm-hmm.
He's so humble, and
he goes out of his way so many times, risk his life to do the right thing.
Yeah. And that's what I love about Spider-Man.
And he doesn't care if his powers are gonna pull him through what he's trying to establish, but he doesn't care. And that's just so honorable and noble to me.
And I love his... I'm just happy to be here, guys.
Yeah, that is
sensibility.
True.
He's just happy to be.
He wants to be part of a team.
A part of a team.
Yeah,
and he's the most relatable to me. And his father surrogate being Tony Stark it all just works for me.
Okay, now here is where I struggled, Paige. I was really doubting between Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, and Peter Parker.
Okay.
I feel like Peter Parker, as strong of a character as he may be,
he's not around long enough.
He hasn't been around long enough. He only has 1 solo movie and 2 ensemble movies.
Okay.
Tony Stark has 1 good movie and 2 bad movies. Now, it's not his fault, but I think that went into my consideration.
Okay. Consistency-wise, I do understand.
Consistency-wise, Steve Rogers. Mm-hmm. Also, I think out of all the Marvel characters, he's had definitely the biggest arc so far. And I think emotionally, I got attached to him way more than all the other characters. I felt his struggle way more. I felt his sense of responsibility way more. So for me, it has to be Steve Rogers. And also looking at my top 5, the 2 of those movies are Captain America movies.
Yeah. It's a good pick. I'm not gonna question your pick at all. It's a good pick. And would Tom Holland not be in this universe? I probably would have picked it too.
Okay. But yeah, Spider-Man is your guy. I understand.
He's my
that.
guy.
I mean, he's been for the longest time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard not to root for Tom Holland. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Now, that was our review for the MCU so far. Now, Pesh, this is our first episode. We're really new in this. And all the feedback from you guys is going to help us get better. So please let us know what we can do to make this better, to make this work. We would like this to become a safe discussion.
Safe one.
So give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, and follow us next week for our brand new episode.